Cyprien, Esenwein. I think everybody in one way or the other, even if you haven't played it, you know what Cyprien is about. And yes, there's a lot of words there. There is a lot of words on that card. And so, but this is one night that my voice box is actually really, really good, so I can actually read through this and not have too many problems. How about that? So let's get started with this. Okay, Cyprien Esenwein comes from Utgar, undead, unique hero, lord, terrifying, medium 4, has 6 life, move of 8 spaces, range of 1, attack of 3, defense of 4, 150 points. Special abilities: life drain. Each time Cyprien Esenwein destroys a figure, you may remove a wound marker from this army card. Cyprien Esenwein cannot life drain destructible objects. So that's nice. And then Chilling Touch. After moving and before attacking, Cyprien Esenwein may attempt a Chilling Touch. To do this, choose a figure adjacent to Cyprien Esenwein and roll the 20-sided die. If you roll a 1 and 12, nothing happens. 13 and 15, the chosen figure receives 1 wound. 16, 17, chosen figure receives 2 wounds. 18, 19, chosen figure receives 3 wounds. And a 20 or higher, the chosen figure receives, count 'em, 6 wounds. Cyprien Esenwein's Chilling Touch does not affect Soulborgs or destructible objects. And Cyprien Esenwein also has stealth flying, so you can just move him around, and yeah, just interesting, very interesting miniature. Now about these stats, I know we got some people championing at the bit here, probably wanting to talk about it. So stats. Mike, what do you think about this this miniature?
I don't have as much respect for Cyprien as most.
Ooh, okay.
As a melee player, he's never really scared me. I think he's a lot better versus something like, he can just put armies like 4th Mass or 10th Regiment in awkward spots because he can just always like engage, 1 or 2 guys, and he's got 8 moves, so he can try to make weight and fires pretty awkward. He can deny them height, but like with melee, all my figures are going to be together, and wherever he lands, I'm going to get 5 attacks, and I'm going to kill him in 2 turns. So it's like I've played Nilf Greenscales against him though, and that was a terrifying experience, right? So it's just like he's very. And then you've got other armies like the Soulborg armies where he just doesn't work. Chilling Touch doesn't work against Soulborg, so he can't Chill Touch versus Glad Blast. And Glad Blast is notoriously good at killing heroes anyways. And Cyberclaw shuts down Stealth Flying, so he's just useless in that matchup other than he can try to assassinate Raylan. He also can't Chill Touch Q9, right? Major Q9 or Major Q10. There's just quite a few good Soulborgs.
So
yeah, I don't know. I think he's good. Yeah, he's 150 points, and a lot of times people bring Sonya Esenwein, and all Sonya does is basically give him a +2 on his die roll, which is really important, right? Because your Chilling Touch needs to be good, but now you're paying 195 points for, for basically one figure that can just range from really good to really bad, But
right.
There are certain armies where he matches up well, and he can perform very well, and obviously against heroes, if you've got like a hero that you really care about, and it sort of depends on what you've paired him with. So let's say you were running, it'd be a little unorthodox, but let's say you were running something like Cyprien and 10th Regiment or something for some reason. Well, Cyprien maybe against my heavies, maybe you are able to go and Chill Touch and just auto kill Grimnack, and all of a sudden I've got 3/3 heavies versus 10th Regiment. I'm probably going to lose that game, right? So it's like even in the bad matchups, you can sort of leverage him into some favorable positions, but he can also be really good at cleanup. Because again, his issue is just if he gets overwhelmed by squads. That's the that's the fundamental weakness into melee. So maybe you run him with like, I don't know, something that can clear out some melee figures first. And then you might, in the end game, he can pick off lone squad figures, or he can go toe to toe with any hero very well. So I think he's very solid. But you are going to have games where you really, are like, wow, this figure was great and he carried, or you're going to have a game where you're going to be like, why did I spend 200 points on this,
I like him from a design perspective because it's like like vampires of old. They're one of the most powerful creatures, but they're also can't eat garlic. So it's like they're very very top and bottom balanced. And I was in terms of like a hero design, it's like you're saying he's not great against everything, but when he's good, he's killer. You're scared of him. So I love him, and I think you never feel bad at least using a turn with Cyprien just because of the amount of you have variance, but it's not applicable to make him worthwhile. It just makes him slightly better. So I love Cyprien, but I definitely see where you're coming from. Where four Death Chasers will make him have a bad day.
Right, and turning back to the uniques only, I actually think he's not great into Q9 there, for example. But if you're expecting to see a lot of Krav, Cyprien is one of the best answers to Krav because he can just run up and quickly dispose of them, a lot better than a lot of other figures in the uniques only format, right? So if you're expecting Krav, if you're expecting Mara Warriors, if you think people are going to bring, I think even into Frost Claws maybe, he can probably kill one very quickly. And, maybe because they have such low move, maybe you can put him in such a spot where the others, maybe not all three can engage without running. And then they're only throwing one attack that turn. You can run away. You can do whatever you want from there. I think he could be an option there. If I were going to Gen Con and if I were playing in that'd be probably one of the pieces I'd be trying out to see, like, hey, because again, into rats, if it's rats with anything that's not Q9 or Q10, he's fantastic, right? Because he flies over the screen with 8 move. So if it's like they're doing some, tier under build where they're running like rats and Krav or rats and like Savaris or, Skahen or any of those figures, Cyprien's just going to basically solo their army effectively, right? Because he's going to take out their offensive piece and then they're going to be left with a bunch of rats that don't do anything. So yeah, and I agree from a like thematic standpoint, very, very cool figure. They did a really good job with the vampires. Chilling Touch is just such a great power for that. And obviously Life Drain too, but those two powers together, fantastic.
Yeah, and before we go continue, hey, we got Jeremy on the stream.
I made it.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah.
Transportation is becoming very dumb lately. Uber wants to take everything I own. So yeah.
But no,
I made it.
It's good to see you, Jeremy. And I know you like Cyprien, and we're going to get into lore in a second. But one thing I want to mention when it comes to the gameplay. So based on what you're telling me, Mike, because a lot of the times when we talk about these miniatures and introduce these miniatures, we're usually talking it in the perspective of someone who might just be getting into the game. And what works, what would work good for them starting out, and if it would be something worth considering for a Heroscape collection. And I know that Cyprien has a lot of stats, and so it might be a little bit of a learning curve to balance out and figure out what to do with them on the board. But this is one of the firsts for me. This is how slow I am. That because I know a lot of people are thinking, okay, what's a way to take down fourth mass? What's a way to take down a lot of ranged units where you usually have trouble for? It seems like Cyprien is a bit of a solution when it comes to that.
Well, and I'll caveat that with like if you lead him out versus 6 squads of fourth mass, you're going to lose, right? Like he's never going to kill 6 squads of fourth mass.
Sure.
But if you've got some other figures that can weaken them, right? Take out some of them and thin them out, and then what Cyprien gives you is a figure that will usually be on height, right? With 5 defense, he's healing, he can kill them pretty easily because he only has 3 base attack. Where that's an issue is like in another issue into like a knights or a heavies is that if you're attacking a knight or a heavy that has 4 defense, well, it's you're a little, you've got a 50-50 basically on your attack roll, and then Chilling Touch is a 50-50. You got 75% chance of doing of getting 1 kill on a guy, but that's only going to heal you 1 wound, right? Whereas if the fourth mass are shooting up and then he's able to attack them, it's not amazing. I wouldn't
quickly.
say it's like a hard counter, but you can get value from him for sure. And the big thing there is to try to make it so that you're not getting wait and fired by 4 guys in return. If you're just throwing them into it and then they're getting 4 wait and fire shots on even ground, let's say 4 3v4s, and they're doing that happens turn over turn. But if they're depends a little on how they play it, but
Sure.
if you've managed to make it so that they're a little more spread out, there's not as many of them. With 8 move, you can be from one place to another, so you can just you can move, get a kill, single engage, prioritize just like engaging one guy, maybe 2 max, and then when they move, you can just leave. So it's very interesting. He's an interesting figure. I wouldn't say he's amazing against them just because of attacks per turn still, but I think in the right situation, he can put in some work. Where he's best is the king armies, right? The armies that focus around a single figure, like a Torkolna or a Nilfheim, or he'd assassinate a Raylan, obviously. But into the squads again, if you've thinned them out. So let's say you were running Cyprien and I don't know, Stingers for some reason. And it's like, well, your Stingers aren't great into 4th Mass. That's not a very good matchup for Stingers, but they can at least trade for some of them, right? And then you can hopefully create an end game where Cyprien can clean up. That's really what you're looking for in those matchups, right? But again, if you lead out with him, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on your skill level as a player and just learning how to manage that. And here, let me go. And I know one thing before I start, because I know we have a few comments here in the live chat. I know one minus as well for Cyprien. It doesn't really bond with anything like classic. Unlike classic Heroscape, doesn't really bond much, and I think that's a huge minus for it as well. But let's see. Okay, let's catch up on some of these comments. Cyprien is a nasty figure. He moves in quick and can be a thorn. Ranged units don't have a lot of time before he's in their face. Right. Hexala says, I still have memories of facing against Cyprien in 2012. He took out my Deathwalker, which I'm pretty sure doesn't work, but I didn't realize that at the time. And let's see here, Teamski saying this.
Oh, yeah, no Soulborg.
Yeah.
They chili touched the Soulborg. No.
Nope.
Man, if it worked though, if you could chill touch 2/9, then I'd be in.
Yeah, that would.
I'd be all in.
I think they put that there, just to make everybody's minds go like, oh, okay.
Wait a second. Yeah.
Let's see. And Teamski says his family is pretty much a waste. They're all themed.
Your family's a waste.
Your family's a waste. Actually, okay. I'm gonna try and remember to write down that line and use that for Tales of Ahau, the Aftermath Chronicles in the future.
That's the insult.
That's the line. That's the line.
The Esenweins are a waste.
I need my lines.
No one drafts you anyway.
Silence, your family's a waste.
Everyone likes Marku more than you anyway.
Hexal is saying his move of 8, in addition to stealth flying, means he can bait range into moving out of position as you go after units that don't have an order marker, that don't have order markers for a round. And Teamski also says, I know of no other figure that can close in against Omnicron snipers on a ranged glyph. So yeah, that's some of the comments there in the chat. Go ahead, Jeremy.
He's fat because I SkipCon 3. I can't remember off the top of my head what the matchup was, but the last couple of rounds of the game before swap was the opponent Cyprien versus my Spartacus. And I had to chase him across the board. It was so exhausting. I would move Spartacus up, and then Cyprien would fly away. I'd move Spartacus that way, and then Cyprien would fly away. And this fight was so intense because I was like, am I going to win? And like Cyprien was doing this, like, he was like playing games with me. He would jump around, hit me, heal, jump around, hit me, And then Spartacus is taking all the hits, but he's like trooping, because, it's Spartacus. The guy is crazy. But, yeah, and I eventually killed Cyprien. But it took so many turns to do it. And I was just like, what? Oh, this is so bad. And I was just like, I'm glad it was the last match because it was like, I think at the point the opponent was just like, you're going to win anyway. But I was like, no, this is kind of fun anyway. Let's keep going. And then we just, chasing the vampire across the map. And I'm like, this is rough. He would not stay in one place. And I finally did I can't remember how, like he went down the valley and then I pulled someone in to just lock him in place. And I was like, no, stay. But that's the thing with stealth flying. You just all the limitations with engagement
It's a
is
good
no
plus.
longer there. That's the biggest bonus I think
Yeah.
for the vampire is just being able to get out when he needs to, and it's like I'm like it works. I have witnessed it in play. I was like, oh my gosh, like stay put. What are you doing? Stop moving.
And
So
Teamski is asking something in the chat, and we're going to get into the lore of Cyprien in a second. But Teamski is asking, on the top of your heads, is there any other figure with as much movement?
The closest I mean, there's the ghosties.
Without special
ghosties,
abilities.
oh right.
Which is 7 stealth flying.
Yeah, it goes. Yeah,
I think
always the
Sujella
undead.
has 8, right?
Yeah.
Does Sujella have 8? But I don't think it's stealth flying. I
No,
think
it's
she's
Yeah,
normal.
it's just normal
Yeah.
flying, yeah.
Cyprien's definitely one of the
She
most
too big for stealth
mobile-
flying. That would make it. I was like,
Yeah.
I can see
Cyprien
you.
can get around. Cyprien can definitely get around, which makes it scary. Which makes it scary. All right, let's get into
the vampire player.
the lore, because I know Jeremy loves this. And finally, he can talk about
That's
the Esenweins a
precisely
bit.
the reason I showed up today. No, it's like I was gonna be late, but then I saw Cyprien Isom. I was on the live, so I was like, no, I have to show up
gotta
for
do it.
some of the show.
Hey, we
talk
were
about
kind of half pausing the show for you, bro, because we
Oh
we
man,
wanted to be on
okay,
this.
I appreciate you. Thank you. So Cyprien Isom, this character
Well,
of all the characters.
You may read the character bio first, or do you want to read the character bio?
Yeah, it's up. Do you want to do the bio first and then this?
Yeah,
There's a lot.
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do it. Let's
read the bio.
Okay, character bio first. Sometimes it is difficult to perceive the difference between good and evil. This is not the case with Cyprien Esenwein. He is pure evil. On Pheland, his undead army of vampires, zombies, and skeletons controls most of... how do you say that word, Jeremy? Oh, words.
I want to say
Anelintia?
Analintia, yeah.
Okay, I got it. And all of Morandan. He favors his skeleton cavalry for their speed and resilience. Oh, by the way, Renegade, make a skeleton cavalry. We need this. He fights with his vampires, often often indistinguishable from the rest of the army. On Valhalla, Utkar has given much authority to Cyprien. His pure evil nature and lust for power has impressed Utkar. Cyprien fights alongside his army and leads by example, taking on the opposing army's greatest champion. Often the opposing champion is cold and dead before he realizes what has happened. With each fallen champion, Cyprien goes stronger. Cyprien is feared by all. Even Drake has felt his chilling touch. To make matters worse, Cyprien has begun drinking the waters of the wellsprings, and he has received visions of his undead army. He believes eventually a portal will open, and his entire army will join him on Valhalla. The combined attack of a huge Morrow army and Cyprien's army would bring certain doom to any opposition. Jeremy, go ahead.
But then Wizards of the Coast ended that opposition. I was kidding. Cyprien didn't get to do anything despite this. The lead up was insane, right?
Yeah.
Because if you remember last podcast episode, no, 2 podcast episodes, we got to read him in Thorman's journal.
Right.
So in the bio where they mentioned that Drake has felt his chilling touch, you actually can read how that happened in Thorman's journal.
Yeah, that was
one of the
kind
few
of fun.
characters. Yeah, one of the few characters that has that sort of continuity where he's in the lore, he's in the story, and he's a pretty cool character to play in the game. Like, I mean, there's so many different things you get out of it. And then there was hints, right? Because Heroscape has always had references to future content, like even in like the margins, right? Everyone remembers Torkolna was hinted at for like years before he finally shows up in 2007. Like I mean, it was because he was in the Thorman's Journal, entry 10, and they didn't say anything about that until 2007. I was like, wow, that was a great secret. I mean, we knew he was coming out at some point, but it was just like, is he coming out of this expansion? Is he coming out of this expansion? And it was just, oh no, his whole master set. There he is. So they always do that. They drop the hints, and so Skeleton Cavalry has been asked about forever. I remember a lot of people when Wizards took over, they were asking them to bring a Skeleton Cavalry. I mean, because it was just, it was perfectly functional option that would fit. People wanted to see what that would look like. We already had the Templars, and the Templars look great, right? And then they added the Groks, and the Groks are awesome, like visually. like in terms of cavalry visuals, like they're super cool. So a skeleton cavalry, if they were able to like make that like Heroscape like, because remember, Heroscape was never just it's tropes, but it's also like there's that special little twist they add to certain things. I would have loved to see it.
Mm-hmm.
What else is it? Yeah, the whole thing with him drinking the wellspring water. Like, I mean, he was gonna get to Valkyrie status at some point. He was gonna start summoning undead to Valhalla. That was gonna, and I do hope Renegade continues with this plot hole at least, because like I said, this was something I felt they were probably gonna lead into pretty quickly after. I would say probably around wave 10 or 11 would have been my guess if they had continued it, because it was just so recent. It was like it's right there, and they were hinting at it. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's go to the jungle. Let's deal with tomorrow. Oh no, the undead are coming behind us. They're pinching us in or something. It would have been perfect, right?
Talk about an awesome bad guy. Just your quintessential.
He has like his launch is like
just...
so much information.
Yeah.
And then like he cursed his brother. He's got like he's got this really cool. Just so many things about this character that came into his play when he was introduced that, I mean, I hope Renegade picks up on. Renegade has a Vampire the Masquerade. Like, you want a vampire for Vampire the Masquerade? Like, it's perfect, right? But yeah, just really, really cool character. Of course, you may have seen in lore, they mentioned Morindan, which is also where the zombies come from. So a lot of people have associated the zombies. I imagine the zombies are part of his retinue. Every undead from Phelan is associated with him except Sudima.
Now,
she's her own little thing that nobody knows anything about.
What about this plant or this place, NL Intia? If I said that right.
He's the only one that has it. It's only mentioned in his bio. I know they use that name for C3V, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
really
interesting.
Cool continuity connect.
The skeletons.
The skeletons. And I played against them at ScapeCon, and they are so frustrating because they keep coming back. The reanimation technique is such a cool mechanic.
I'm getting some skeletons actually.
They're really cool. You'll see reanimation is a really cool mechanic, and I'm mad at it when it's used against me, but like playing it, it's fun. Let's see. I'm trying to think of like it's just as a character, I think they had a really good design lead with him, and if you remember your Avalon Hill history, I know that sounds like it, but it's like. That time period when Avalon Hill's active and posting all the stuff, and Craig Van Ness was in the chat, right? And he was talking about it. They were collaborating. They were like, Sky Knight was like, hey, can I design the skeletons? And he's like, yeah, you can design the skeletons. I mean, they were literally going to bring this into the game. Like, I imagine after Age of Annihilation, if they still had it, they would have done Vampire. So I'm like, Cyprien has been cut off twice now from potential, because when he was first introduced, then they cut him off with Wizards, and then Avalon Hill wanted to bring him in, and then they cut him off. So I'm like, come on, Renegade.
We have nearly everything else. We need our skeletons. We need skeletons.
That's one of the top listed requested things.
Skeleton Cavalry is just, I mean, it is like if Renegade wants some good points, picking up these references to characters that were hinted at and not delivered on because of the merger or the transfer would be perfect start for the first wave after Age of Annihilation. Honestly, like, and that's just personal opinion. I'll still like whatever they make because it's still new. Like, it's new Heroscape. It's gonna be cool regardless. But if they start doing that, like leading in with the first wave, oh, you remember the Skeleton Cavalry? Well, we did, and it's like, yeah, like everyone would go crazy for it. It would be such a cool opportunity.
Especially if there's like some type of synergy, like official synergy, that would just be like that would bring
some bonding with the vampires. Some bonding with the vampires. We would love to see it. Like that would make more vampire plays.
Blow things out of the water.
Yep. So Renegade.
Yeah.
Giving you all these ideas.
Funny how we end a lot of these squads and heroes by saying, Renegade, you got work to do.
This is your homework.
My conspiracy theory, my aluminum foil conspiracy theory is kind of what you were saying, is that if D&D never took over, we would have had Swarm of the Morrow.
We would have had some sort of undead.
And the next wave would have been, Tomb of Esenwein, something like that. And you have the mausoleums, you have like big undead swarms. And it would be really cool. I think it's still a great opportunity to have a general that's not a Kyrie or Arkari, just kind of someone that came there and is now a force to be reckoned with. I think that would, because I think Valkrol was supposed to be Eisenwein. That's my That's my head game.
Yeah, with the demon, because he had undead too. He was starting to.
Well,
demons, undead.
I mean, I'll just hint at this, Josiah, but you're kind of giving away season 4 a little bit, you know, for my own personal, my own personal fan lore, kind of, you know. It's like, wait a second, I need to rewrite my script now a little bit.
That's so funny.
No, that's awesome though. Okay, well, and I don't know if we want to continue. I mean, there might be times where we might revisit Cyprien because there's a lot to talk about with him, but I think we've said pretty much.
Yeah, this is pretty much
what needs to be said for
entry.
the moment. Yeah.
He's one of the few characters that has a lore entry and a direct Thorman's Journal reference, but that's, like I said, that's where they cut it off. I imagine, just from the narrative standpoint, I really think this was something they were going to lead with after the Mara, and they just never got the chance. So it would be really cool to see that door open again in the future at some point.
For sure.
Yeah. And going to like future units and stuff, one of the things that I think is really cool that they're doing is more of like the 2.0s and 3.0s. And Cyprien is one of the few that I don't think needs one. Like I don't know how you improve on it. You know, like you could power creep him, right? And say like, oh, he gets, you know, 2 extra attack dice and now he's 170 points or something, you know. But from like a theme standpoint, I just don't know how you execute that better. Whereas like I feel like a lot of other heroes are just sort of like, you know, sort of generic enough in their powers and stuff where it's like, oh, you can take it a little bit of a different direction with the new version. Look at like a Q10, right? It's just like, oh, he's got a couple special attacks. Okay, that's not particularly evocative of anything other than he's good at shooting. You know, so you can take that, you can spin it in a different direction, you can work with it. Even a figure like Grimnak, who I think is thematic with the Chomp abilities, like you could easily have a Grimnak 2.0 where it has Chomp, but the rider's a lot stronger now. Maybe he's got a bow, you know, maybe he gets a special attack as well or something. Just a lot of different directions you could go in with that sort of figure. And again, Cyprien's one of the few that it's just like, I generally don't know how you improve it, you know.
Just
I think
maybe
from a thematic
reprint it,
standpoint,
you know, do
sure.
reprint.
Make a new mold.
Stack card.
Now Marsu 2.0, you know, uncursed Marsu. That's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
He finds the cure with a new general or something like that.
Yeah, becomes a Revna ally. You know,
the vampire that joined the good guys or something like that. That'd be cool.
That would be. All right. Well, I will end this by saying again, for your everyone's consideration, Cyprien Esenwein and Hexala actually kind of sign us off on this one, where it says Cyprien gets around. Well, maybe before he was married. And so with that, this is for anybody watching. Consider Cyprien Esenwein and all these comments. Just consider it for your Heroscape collection.